It's going to cause them problems and cause the office problems.
As far as I know, there's no problem there, but I
Okay.
hope that's the case.
If you're on shift, can you flex your shift accordingly so this time is not on duty?
Yes. Okay, where was I?
Submitted questions.
Okay,
That's
so
why the people that show up.
this is a question for each of the candidates, and we'll just go left to right, so that's how you're sitting. Or actually, let's do reverse, since
Okay.
Steve got it before, we'll go Bill and Bob and Steve. Time limit to answer for each will be 2 minutes. And so the question is, what is your top priority as an administrator, and when will the top priority be addressed and fixed? And just some examples would be, is it the jail, the RMS, the radios, and so on and so forth.
My top safety is the citizens of Whatcom County and the deputies that work in the sheriff's office. It's keeping you safe. We've had a horrendous number of officers killed in Western Washington in the last several years. I want to ensure we continue to provide you the best training. We keep staffing levels and availability to as high as they conceivably can be within reason, to continue to protect yourselves and protect the people that we're sworn to protect. After that, I would put getting a reasonably sized jail, an efficiently designed jail, number 2, and number 3 is we need to increase or enhance the technology that we have in the sheriff's office, so we have plans to do all of that.
Well, my top priority is start out with something more technical, because the bottom line is you guys all know how to do your jobs extremely well. And I would just better than the vast majority of agencies out there. You don't need a whole lot of input from staff on direction, how to get things done, how to take care of your duties day to day. You can do that for years to come. So as staff, my priority is to shift the culture of this entire place so that you understand staff is about supporting the people who are the pointy end of the spear, the people who get the job done. So the first thing would be to start putting in place financial systems that we can start tracking who's doing what, where, and when. We gotta start somewhere, because we don't seem to have a real good grasp on that. Start getting a budget out there for each specific entity, whether it's crime scene, whether it's just training in general. Start understanding where the money's going, how much is going there, where the training's going, how much is going there, and does this really align with our priorities? So once we start measuring things and start seeing where the money and time is going, then and only then can we really start making improvements, start living up to the vision, mission, and values that we have posted. So that's going to be the first thing I'll start working on. It's going to be the culture. I'm not going to be going outside. Start interacting with all kinds of outside agencies right off the bat, because the focus is on fixing this office, and that's what needs to happen now, and that's going to take full-time work for myself and the staff. And it's just going to be, what are we going to do to support you, to get you doing your job better every day? You don't need to be on you about it, because you already know how to do it. You need to know what you need so you can do it better, working toward your strengths.
Thank you. Steve, would you like me to restate the question, or?
No, it's okay. My number one priority right away, as soon as I take office, would be eliminating the inspector position, getting rid of it, we don't need it, reallocating that position to lieutenant. Obviously, there's some issues that may or may not come up, guilt-related, as far as who's going to go where. When I get rid of a couple of people, what's going to happen, and I have a pretty good grasp on what civil service rules say, but again, eliminate some of the unneeded staff, specifically the inspector, create a third lieutenant, take away some administrative functions off of the sergeants so that they can better get a handle on this ship, and increasing minimum staffing. That's my number one priority. And I will use existing funding or advocate to our council, this is what we need, this is what the staffing needs to be. I'm sick and tired of this 3-4-3 staffing crap. It needs to be raised, it needs to be sufficient. Number one. Number two, we need to fix the jail issue. Do we need to necessarily build a new jail? What I haven't heard is, what are we going to do with the current jail? Are we just going to bulldoze it, tear it down? We're investing almost $3 million into fixing the controls. Hopefully that'll be significant. And work on, I advocate for building out in our south parking lot. I think that's what we need to do. I think that makes fiscal sense, although I would love to have an empty pocketbook and build in a rural area. I just don't think we can afford it. Thurston County just built a brand new facility. They don't have the money to staff it. We just cut deputy positions, we cut corrections officer positions. I don't know how in the hell we are going to be able to even staff a new facility if we built it tomorrow. So that has to be fixed. But priority, we've got to get more people on the street doing the job. We need to stop the rhetoric, stop talking about it, and actually do it.
Can I make a quick suggestion, Ben?
Yeah,
Let's, just rather than ask questions for people that aren't here, let's see if there's any questions from people that are here. If there's that real uncomfortable moment of silence, nobody has a question, then maybe if you want to fill it with the ones that have been submitted.
Sure.
I have a question for the sheriff, or for Bill, sorry. My question is, why don't we have an internal budget? For instance, I'm a part of the first aid unit. We need first aid supplies, and we're told that we don't know if we have enough money for it. We have to wait for end of year money. And also, as a crime scene investigator, many times we've asked for equipment, and we're told, well, we don't know if we have any money, and we have to wait till the end of the year. I'm wondering how a multi-million-dollar entity can operate and not know how much money they have at any given time. So I'm wondering why we don't have an internal budget, and I've actually supplied the staff with a budget for CSI to adopt, and it wasn't anything that's outrageous or anything like that. So I guess that's just the question, why don't we operate with an internal budget, and why don't we know how much money we have at any given time for anything?
Well, first of all, Chapter 3 of the county code requires an integrated county budget on a form prescribed by the county executive, and it says that all officers of the executive branch of government will follow those prescribed forms. Having said that, it is important that we track our expenses and know where we are, and not necessarily rely on the monthly updates that we get from the county finance department. Towards that end, we've just replaced an individual, a 30-year employee that was tracking our expenditures, and we've hired an employee that's worked for Whatcom County for 30 years in the Public Works Department, and they actually have some better internal ways of tracking expenditures, knowing where they are from time to time. But allocating money to first aid supplies or crime scene supplies, but we're working in an environment for the last few years where we're told mid-year, you need to take a 1% cut, you need to take a 2% cut, over and above what has already been projected. You need to have a fluid budget where you could set your priorities and adjust funding accordingly. What
So
we've
you're saying
asked is
first aid
every...
supplies aren't important?
I'm sorry?
So you're saying
No, they are.
first aid
They are important, and if you need those, you submit them, and then we look at those
We
in light
did,
of
we were
everything
told
else
we have to
need.
wait till the end of the year to get those, because we don't know if we have enough money.
Well, we do know how much money. If you request them, you should be able to get them. And I just got some money from a private organization that wanted to fund specifically first aid supplies. In fact, it was the Bellingham Elks, so we're gonna be processing that, so we can use the money for other purposes.
So I guess a follow-up question would be so as sheriff, you allowed somebody for 6 years to not properly do the books?
No, they
So
properly did the
because you
books
just-
in
Because you
accordance.
just said, we just hired a 30-year veteran that can do it better.
No, we're looking for continuous improvement all the time. We followed the county budget, the county procedures, and the county ordinance that sets forth the budget for all Whatcom County government. We don't have our own internal budget.
So that precludes you, that county charter or whatever, the county whatever that says you have to follow this budget, precludes you from having your own internal budget?
Well, I think it's tracking expenses and expenditures, knowing what our budget is. I wouldn't call it a budget per se.
So you could have an internal budget, you guys just choose not to.
Well, it says that no, I'm following what the law says, and I'm confident that we have sufficient controls, and we're constantly trying to improve those to have a better handle where the money is at all times, and what we can prioritize and what we can purchase.
Can we pause real quick for change of battery?
People, quality leaders who can step into that position when the time comes to elect a new person. One person I didn't hear mentioned in there is the person you promoted to undersheriff, which is Jeff Parks. Is he not someone you consider to take over here as sheriff?
Under Sheriff Parks has told me he has no interest in becoming the sheriff of Whatcom County.
So seriously, to clarify, Bob, thank you
If
for
there
that.
is a way
Was that
Steve
for-
can answer this,
There
there
is.
is a
If you
personal
ask
way,
the
I would love
question-
for him to answer.
You asked the question of both, go ahead, Steve.
I think it's a great question, and I'm glad that Jeff Parks has decided that he's not gonna run for sheriff. That gladdens me greatly. We do have succession planning, and it is up to the voters to decide, and I don't believe in the carpetbagger system. I don't believe that we should be putting a candidate forward, or the guild should be supporting a candidate who we don't know anything about really relatively. So I think that succession planning is very important. I think that we should promote people who we would highly recommend to be sheriff. And to do that job and to mentor them continually. And that would be one of my actual thoughts and planning and promotion is, what is your future plans? I mean, that's not to say that you can't have an undersheriff who excels in doing something. Somebody with business, it's really a CEO position. I'm not sure what business experience Jeff Parks has. I don't think he has any. And he doesn't want to be sheriff, so I don't really know why he's there, but digressing. Yes, I believe in succession planning, and if I were to be elected, I would certainly promote people that have integrity, have honesty, have ethics, and would gladly step into the role of sheriff if something were to happen to me and I had to step down, or I know the council appoints that, but that I would feel glad recommending to the county council to replace me if I should be unable to fulfill my term.
I certainly wouldn't recommend somebody that's been.
I'm sorry, Bill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir, we're off track, so.
Yeah.
I get to.
Did you have a follow-up, Bob?
I do, so you don't, if I'm catching your drift here, you don't necessarily feel like our process in this organization focuses at all on the type of people who would be good leaders and therefore bringing them up through the ranks?
I would say that specifically in 2 instances, no, that's correct.
Okay, well, that concludes this round of Jeopardy. And we'll take a quick break.